What up, gang? Hey, yeah, I suck at intros, so I butchered this one, and hopefully y'all don't laugh at me too much throughout this episode, but should be a really exciting one, really engaging story, man. I hope y'all enjoy. Have fun. All right. It's solo episode number 1. We're gonna do it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Matt Ellis. Fuck. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, man. It's a solo episode today, and it's gonna be a good one. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt, man. I got a very intriguing story today. Fair warning. You could judge me all you want, man. This is my life and my story, so I thought it was really powerful. I thought the experience I had was really impactful, and I really wanted to share it with somebody. So here we go. Long story short, this is an episode about my craziest acid trip, and it was a roller coaster. So, like I said earlier, y'all judge me all you want. I don't care. Your opinion is not going to change how much sleep I get at night. I just figured y'all might want to listen to an entertaining story about what a freaking idiot I am. Okay? So, psychedelics. Super fun. The story I'm about to get into is the most I've ever done, and the worst, or maybe the best trip I've ever experienced. Yeah, so we'll get right into it. This was a long time ago. I won't say when, but it was a long time ago. So, one day, a buddy of mine told me that he had some LSD. And I had not done any psychedelics in quite some time. It had always been something that I enjoyed, opening up my mind and exploring my consciousness and whatnot. But, so I hadn't gotten any in a long time, I was like, I always kind of wanted to push the limits of what I could handle or what I could take on. And I never really truly understood the power that some of these psychedelics have at such a high dosage, and what kind of experiences they can truly make you understand. So I'll get right into it. Stop wasting y'all's time. I know you want to hear me talk about how much of a crackhead I am, so here we go. On this particular night, thankfully I had my wife to trip sit me the entire night, and I will say she did an amazing job. So the night started out, and I told her, I was very transparent with everything. I said, listen, baby, I need you to sit me for at least the next 6 hours. So I took 4 tabs, right? And they were not regular tabs. They were very strong. Very, very strong. Okay, they was probably double dipped or whatever the fuck. First 2 hours were pretty standard as what I'm used to expecting when it comes to taking psychedelics. Of course, the visuals were a little bit more intense than I was used to, but it was nothing I was not prepared for. Thought I was handling myself very well for the first 2 or 3 hours until everything took a turn. So we were watching I can't remember what exactly we were watching at first, because I kept getting these very unsettling vibes from the TV mainly, just spooky, weird stuff. And so me and Brittany decided we should watch something or put something on that's really not demanding, not spooky, not gonna freak me out. Something real tame, real calm, something I can just sit back and laugh and enjoy and watch. So we decided on The Simpsons. And so we're watching The Simpsons. Everything's going good for a few episodes. Everything's perfectly fine. I'm sitting on the couch. I got my wife sitting in between my legs as she reads a book, and I'm watching The Simpsons. So, unbeknownst to me, and without my knowledge, all of a sudden, the Halloween special episode comes on. And this is when it started getting a little dark. So, the Halloween episode opens up, and you got Maggie and Marge, baby and the wife. Marge is getting ready to read Maggie some bedtime stories. So she's going through the books on the shelf, and she says, "All right, Maggie, what do you think we should watch? Should we watch, or what do you think we should read? You think we should read the ABCs or the Pookadook?" And it's like a picture of this weird monster. She's like, "Should we read the 1, 2, 3s or the Pookadook? Should we read animals or the Pookadook?" Which was a play on the Babadook, the movie about the monster that kills kids. Anyways. But for some reason, when Marge uttered Pookadook for the third time, I got a very, very unsettling, scary, dark presence that came in the room. And when this presence came in the room, I told Brittany, "Close your book and stop the show." Because when I looked down at what Brittany was reading, she was on chapter 13. She had just started chapter 13. And it had all these weird geometric symbols and whatever around the number. And it just gave me really weird vibes looking down and seeing that number 13, and the geological shapes just started to circle and make different shapes, and and it was a little freaky. But so I told Brittany, I said, "You need to close that book right now. Close the book and do not open it again. And turn The Simpsons off, because there is something very dark around us right now." And at that moment, we paused The Simpsons. She closed her book, and she was really upset because she was getting into her book. She was really into it at the moment, and she even told me the part that she was at was kind of a spooky part, and it was kind of freaking her out, especially since I was acting the way I was at the same time. So, so we turn The Simpsons off, we pause it, close the book, and I just feel this very eerie presence around me. And at this point, the visuals are completely taking over my subconscious and making me see and believe whatever it wants, pretty much. So at first, after this dark presence came around, that was it. It was going down for the next hour or two at least. And all of a sudden, in those like old scary movies, they'll pan the camera up to the ceiling, and you'll see these dark, shadowy fingers like running across the ceiling as if the shadow is stretching its hands over the room or over the ceiling. I started to see these hands and these shadows cast over my ceiling, and as if these hands were reaching over me, and after the hands went away, they kind of morphed into this what's the word for it? It's like a half man, half goat. It was like, a man with the horns, and just a real sinister, almost satanic kind of image. And so this, what at the time I called it a demon or a dark spirit. That's what I referred to it as in the moment. And this demon, this dark presence, showed its horns and it showed its hands in the shadows of my ceiling. And then it grabbed me. It's all of a sudden this figure, this fucking billy goat, fucking half man, half goat, little ball looking ass mother, grabbed me by my ears and headbutted me. And that's the only way I know how to describe it. That's just what it felt like. That's what it was for me. I just felt like this demon grabbed me by my ears and just wham, just headbutted me. And from that moment, I was extremely spooked, and I didn't really know what to do. But at that moment, after that happened, I looked over at Brittany and I said, "Oh my God, babe, I think we are being cursed." That's what I said, word for word. I said, "I think we are being cursed." And I demanded her, shut the book again, insinuating that it had something to do with that presence, which, like I said, she was upset about because she was enjoying that part of her book. But it was kind of a weird, darker part of the book, so it kind of spooked her as well. So I continued on about how she needed to keep it closed, and I felt something was still attempting to put what I call, in the moment, a curse on us, on me or us. So we sat down holding each other. I closed my eyes. I felt as if I needed to protect myself by apologizing, and without me intentionally doing so, I start making these weird hand movements and gestures that meant nothing to me in the moment besides pointing around the room as I was pointing, and something was controlling me to say yes or no. Yes or no. So I then joked a little bit about, what do you want? Speaking to this entity or whatever was spooking me at the moment. I was saying, what do you want? I'm not sacrificing my cat, because it felt like my hand was being pointed in the direction of my cat. And my cat would often show up when I was having these little freakouts, these little moments. My cat would often be very close by and, rubbing up against my leg and looking at me in the eyes, and it was a little weird. So I felt like this entity partially wanted me to sacrifice something. And I was like, look, bro, I'm not touching my cat. I love my cat. It's mine. I'm not hurting that thing. My cat got hit by a car about 4 months later. Anyways, R.I.P. Lilo. So while I'm doing this, my eyes are closed. My head is in my hand, and I'm like doing these weird fucking hand gestures that I feel like I don't have control of. I feel like there's something else pulling these little puppet strings on my body, controlling my actions. So I got my hand in my head in my hands, and I'm like pointing around and no, yes, okay, yes. And I open my eyes and I'm pointing at my cat. I'm like, no, I'm not fucking killing my cat. I'm not sacrificing my cat for you, you asshole. So anyways, just random little shit that's going through my head the whole time. So I joke, I'm like, what do you want? My cat, I'm not sacrificing my cat, blase, blase. Ominously, this is just what I wrote. Ominously, the presence went away for a while, reoccurring occasionally whenever something spooked me. So it seemed like, I remember now, it seemed like when I pointed at the cat and I said, okay, yes, the presence subsided and the entity kind of backed off for a little bit and let me kind of continue in my normal state of emotion. And so then I get done with the whole cat thing, super sus. After that, the next thing I remember, I have all this written down because I tried to keep it in order of how it all happened when it was still fresh in my memory, because it was such a compelling experience. I really wanted to share it with some people. So then shit just starts getting kind of random. I keep getting stuck in different cycles of different realities. And the first one was, I randomly went into a fit about how my carpet, and maybe I'll put a picture up and show you my carpet, but I had a fit about how the design of my carpet was throwing me off so much, and it felt like the middle of the carpet, obviously a focal point, was a portal, and it was sucking me into it, or trying to suck the essence of me or my soul or whatever into this portal that was the center of my carpet. So I proceed to grab a bunch of pillows and throw these pillows in the center of my carpet to cover the design, so that the design wasn't entrancing me so much and pulling me in so much to make me think or feel the ways I was thinking and feeling. So I went through this little throwing the pillows on the carpet fit to, yes, claiming it was turning into a portal where the entity could possibly pass through. And I couldn't look at it. 7. It's all stepped out. This is 7. Then it starts weird very fast. At some point, it's foggy. I get shaken. I get shaken, and I start to repent to my wife. At first on the couch, professing I'd value her opinion more, consider her feelings and opinions in every decision that I make. Sorry for lying, etc., etc. She, and this is where I go on to say, she trips at me so well. She was the best, and that's why I married her. I love her. So, at this point, I could feel there was something in me that was telling me that my wife's soul was pure. Okay? And the only way, and that's the only way I can really articulate it. I was so lucky this continued until I felt compelled and commanded to get on the floor. So, as all this is happening, I just have this extreme flood of emotions and sorrow and just an apologetic. It's hard to find the words right now, but I felt this flood of emotion to repent to my wife and repent for my sins and the mistakes that I've made and how selfish I have been over the course of our marriage and how inconsiderate I've been of her opinions and the decisions that form our future and things like that. So I get on the ground. My wife is still sitting on the couch. I sit on the floor, and I'm holding her hands in my hands, and I'm looking up at the ceiling. And as I'm looking up, there's a light. That's the only way I can describe it. There's just a bright light coming from my ceiling, shining down on me. And I'm looking straight up at this light as I continue to repent and confess all my sins and all my shortcomings and how this has been so impactful and hard for me and everything else. So I'm holding my wife's hands. I'm holding my wife's hands in my hands. I'm repenting. I'm looking up this. I'm telling you, this is a bright light shining down on me, and I'm staring up to my ceiling into this light as I repent and as I confess and all these other things. And my wife continues to tell me, it's okay, babe. It's okay. You don't have to do this. Like, it's just the drugs. You're just having a moment. Just keep it together. And I was 100% convinced. And I am almost still 100% convinced that I had a real religious experience and I had a real visitation from some kind of higher power or higher being. So as I'm sitting there repenting, I'm looking up at this light. My wife's telling me, it's okay. It's just the drugs, babe. You don't have to do this. And I'm sitting there professing, like almost welling up with tears in my eyes. I'm saying, no, Brittany, I have to do this. I have to do this. It's not just the drugs. It's God. It is God. And I sat there and I continued to repent and just confess all my shortcomings and everything. And by the end of it, I squeezed my wife's hand and I looked her dead in the eyes and I said, Brittany, I promise you, I will never do another drug in my life. Because previously, I have had some issues with substances in the past. And I'm not afraid to admit that. So if you want to judge me, go right ahead. But I will also tell you that my wife has stood by my side every step of the way. And I couldn't have asked for a better partner. So I sit there and I'm confessing how I'll never do another drug again, and I just want to make you happy, and I want to involve you and make sure your opinion is a heavy factor in all our decisions and this and this and that. And I want to stop lying, and I want to stop being lazy or lethargic or indifferent or whatever it may be. And after I had finished with my repenting session, or however you want to call it, because it felt like once I apologized and I owned up to everything and I really killed my ego, it felt like I was free. It felt like that dark entity was not coming back. It felt like I was in the presence of a higher entity, in the presence of a more bright and positive entity or presence or whatever you want to call it. So that was definitely the most impactful and powerful part of the experience. But my wife just continued to, it's okay, babe. You don't have to do this. Like, it's just the drugs. And I continued. I was like, no, it is not just the drugs. I was like, I have never felt anything more real in my life. And I'll get into more of how it felt real to me. So by the time it was all done, that little repenting session and all that was finished. It lasted about 25, 30 minutes, I guess, from what Brittany tells me. After that was all done, I felt a little bit of peace. I wasn't scared. This dark entity wasn't haunting me or giving me any bad vibes from then on. But I looked at Brittany, I said, and I was so dead ass serious when I looked at Brittany and said this. I looked her straight in the eyes. I said, this is what I said. I said, I think we both know what just happened. And I don't think that we need to talk about it ever again. And what I was referring to is I think we both know that I just had a spiritual and religious awakening and visitation. And I can't explain that to anybody in a way that would make them understand or believe me, unless they've been through it themselves. But I told my wife this was a highly, highly spiritual and religious experience, and I think a lot of things are going to come from it. So, but I told her I don't think we should talk about it right now. I think we both just should know that what just happened was real. So, all right. So after, 20, 25 minutes of that ordeal, I sat back down, and I must have looked like a ghost when I said, Brittany, with a serious face, I think we know what just happened. Yes, this is what I wrote down. But I don't think we should talk about it right now. I'm in my head, I thought. I just had a serious spiritual experience where I was shown just a glimpse of some higher being. Heavy. Long story short, let me jump ahead real quick for just a few minutes. After I had this experience, I started going to church because I wanted to. I just felt so compelled to serve and to have some kind of higher purpose, to where it wasn't about me and I wasn't being selfish anymore, and I was serving my community or my family or whatever, or the church or whatever. But after going to church for a few weeks after this experience, I had never been to church. Well, a few times as a kid. My uncle was a pastor. I went a few times as a kid. Was never very religious, but always spiritual. So this never religious, but spiritual. But so long story short, after going to church for a few weeks, I didn't relate to Jesus. I didn't feel like I connected to the God or the Son of the God that they said he was. So for me, it was good. I enjoyed church. We went to Venture for a while, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Austin Rummel, great pastor. Really enjoyed some of the sermons, but there was just, while I was there, I felt a connection, but as they continued to talk about Jesus and God, that connection faded, and I didn't relate to Jesus, and I didn't relate to that God as being the one. I think it's something much bigger than that, and that's just my own personal opinion. You can come for me later, but so I started going to church after. tried to expand my reality and whatnot, but eventually I did stop going to church, and because I didn't relate with the God and the Jesus that they were preaching to or preaching about. So I felt like my own religious or spiritual encounter was different and very real, but not the same. So after all this huge religious debacle and this grappling with life and reality and consciousness and stuff, I finally got out of that cycle. I got out of that religious loop and the mental cycle I was stuck in. So, but afterwards, the powerful, this is just what I got wrote down, so I'm going to just run it. The powerful influence this drug had on my mind was absolutely incredible. But after all of this religious talk and everything, I started going through different cycles of what are pretty common high dosage LSD experiences. So I start getting stuck in these multiple different loops, these thought loops, where you have a certain situation and you just keep running your mind through that same thing, and you get confused between what's reality and what's not, and things of that nature. So in this next hour or so of the trip, I got stuck in what some people will call the simulation theory. The next truly mind-challenging thing that happened. And I tell this to everybody when I tell this story because it's something I've never experienced before on psychedelics or anything. But as I moved into this next section of the trip, basically, and moved away from the repenting and stuff, I got stuck in this simulation theory where this is all a computer program and we're all running like hard drives and monitoring systems and whatever. Our fucking brains are just a processing unit or some fucking no. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is I've never felt pain off a hallucinogenic before that wasn't real. So in this next section of my trip, it came on very quickly, very sudden. Before I knew it, I had two beams of light shooting out of the top of my head. Stay with me. There was a green light and a blue light, and there's like these beams that shot out of the top of my head into the ceiling and into a network of other beams and connecting light patterns and blah, 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 blah. So when I seen these two beams coming out of the top of my head, and I seen them, I was looking up and I could see the red and the green shooting at just two straight beams just shooting out of my head. And it felt like somebody grabbed one of these beams and was yanking on it and just yanking on it. And it was stuck in my head. And they was yanking and yanking. And my wife was sitting right next to me, and I was audibly yelling. And I remember I arched my back and I fucking threw my head back and grabbed my side of my head, and I was like, ow, ow, stop, let me go. Let me go. And it did after a minute or two. But the pain that I felt, the real physical pain, you could see my eyes. You could see my eyes squinting and tensing up, and and my wife explained it all to me later, but I was tense, and I was wincing, and I was asking it to stop and let go because it was yanking on these beams coming out of my head, these electrical pathways that are connected to the higher plane of existence or whatever. And so that was really difficult to grapple with, because it hurt. It felt like something was pulling at my brain and trying to pull my head off, and it freaked me out. So nevertheless, we'll keep moving, because I keep getting caught in these different kind of loops, and that was one of the loops I continued to get caught in. And so it says here, I found myself looking up with two beams coming out of the top of my head, one green, one blue. And it was as if something was yanking on one of these beams, but it was stuck, which is when Brittany watched me wince in pain and verbally shout, "Ow, ow, let me go," shortly after it did. 10. I bounced between this reality and one even scarier. As my wife tried to console me, it's as if I was seeing skinny, sharp objects up her sleeves, and I was convinced they were blades, and I was breaking the simulation, and she was a secret or double agent sent to keep me from losing it or going rogue. As I come to the realization that I could see through the illusion, but ultimately thought she was going to assassinate me if I showed that I knew too much. It got so bad to the point I threw myself to the floor with my hands around my neck, yelling, "No, no, no, please don't kill me." Then floating into another reality or perspective. These were most of the bad parts. There are a lot I missed. Some stretches of time were good, where I made jokes and cracked up in and out of waves. I start to come down, and Britt is very tired from sitting, and it's early morning, so basically I'm left to thug it out in the room by myself. I managed fine while I came down, and Brittany got some rest. There was so much more. It was just, what a shock. What stuck with me the most. So I started. This was the scariest thought loop that I got stuck in, and it was the last one that I got stuck in. Because about 5, 6 a.m. when I was finally kind of starting to come down, Brittany was ready to fall asleep, and I was capable enough to maintain my wherewithal for the rest of the early morning, just watching probably The Simpsons or something, just keeping my... No, I was watching Planet Earth, because that shit was super calm, super chill. Nature's amazing. The ocean's crazy and dangerous. But yeah, I kept thinking that I was breaking the simulation. I felt like the LSD had dropped. I felt like it had dropped the veil, or it had at least lightened the veil between the real world and the spiritual world. And that's why I was able to contact these beings and have a light shed down on me and all these things. But I was thoroughly convinced that my wife was a double agent with a Assassin's Creed fucking type blade up her sleeve, just waiting for me to let her know that I know what the fuck is going on, and this is not real, and you are only here to keep me in check so that I will keep doing what the ultimate ruler wants me to do, which is be submissive, work till I die, give all my money away. And be mad and miserable, because that's what the evil world feeds off of. But I got over that. I didn't. It was so scary. It was so scary, man, because I thought I knew too much. I thought I had broke the simulation. I knew what was going on. I knew that this was all a game and a trick to keep us in this cycle of harvesting our souls, or whatever you want to call it, or reincarnating and whatever. You know, the fucking rabbit hole goes so deep. But I just so vividly remember jumping back on the floor and throwing myself onto my back, hands around my neck. No, no, no. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. And my wife's probably like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I just, the LSD, man, it just kept making me have these glimpses of shimmery, shiny objects hidden under her sleeve. And she would try to console me, and she'd put her arm around my neck and my shoulders, and she'd have her hand around my neck, and I would freak out, and I'd grab her hand and throw it away from my neck and jump back and, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. And it was scary, and I know I scared her, and I feel really bad for that, but it was honestly a amazing and beautiful experience, even though I was scared shitless and I had to go to church for the next 2 months. It was crazy. It was one of the most life-changing moments I have experienced. So we'll leave it at that. But then that goes on to, make me question my own religious outlooks and my own spiritual understandings, because at this point I'm thoroughly convinced that anything that the human race has ever created or thought of or written down or invented, even if it be fiction and nonfiction, has existed in some capacity somewhere in this universe. So there is absolutely nothing that is out of bounds and unachievable or unimaginable. There's absolutely nothing from aliens to humans being hybrid fucking entities or just everything. Just the Anunnaki, the Great Flood, the Younger Dryas, the everything. It's all happened, and it's all a real thing, whether it's real in our universe or not. It has happened somewhere. So I believe in everything now. Everything is possible. I mean, we have no limitations. I mean, if you've looked into Project Looking Glass and MK Ultra and all these crazy kind of government programs and secret black budget projects, and it's all out there, and it's all absolutely insane, and it is happening somewhere at some point in time. We may never see it in our life, but this is a crazy, confusing, complicated existence that we have on this earth, and it's all been perfectly curated and made for us to just relish in. And I mean, at the end of the day, I still do believe that it's a very big battle between good and evil. I gotta pee so bad, I'm sorry, but it is a huge battle between good and evil, and the evil preys on the weak. And if there's too many weak people in this world, we've got a lot of hard battles ahead of us. Excuse me. And with that being said, man, that trip was fucking crazy. And I might do it again one day, probably not. I'm trying to get my shit in order, so life's hard, but that's it, man. I'm going to try to keep it short. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all don't judge me too hard, man. Go out there, try to have an experience for yourself. Open your eyes a little bit. There's so much more to this world. There's so much beauty out there to see and accomplish. And if you put your mind to it, anything's possible. I love you guys. Have a great day. I'm out. Huh. Things of that nature, and it gets spooky, and I don't think anything is out of the realm of possibility. And this experience definitely showed me the possibilities in life, and really opened my eyes, and it was really impactful, and it really changed the way I look at things and the way I carry myself. And like I said, over the next few weeks, I wanted to serve. I wanted to have a purpose. I wanted to, I went to church for a few weeks, and I just didn't relate with the name Jesus, or the God that they were speaking to. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and it's been quite the roller coaster. But yeah, like I said, y'all judge me all you want. I hope you enjoyed the story. It was quite the experience, and hopefully we got lots of more fun stuff coming. This episode was pretty fun. Hopefully I can bring you guys some good, entertaining stories like this more often. And hopefully I have a good guest on the next episode. I'm really going to try to start putting these out more often, maybe weekly if I can. But I appreciate everybody that supports me and loves me, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Thanks. I'll see you guys next episode. Peace.